He front kicked him in the face!
Yo guys, welcome back. It's the Casual MMA and it's a mad thing because we're doing two back-to-back videos in two back-to-back events. This is the first time. This is just a sign that we're going to stay consistent this year, hopefully. And you already know, today we're covering the loss of a legend, Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall, and we're going to go over the main fights. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the first one. Some of you may remember Alexander Hernandez from when he fought Cowboy. The UFC really tried to push him into becoming a star at that fight. They used Cowboy as kind of a gatekeeper and they tried to make something out of Alexander Hernandez. But as you saw from that fight, Cowboy just shut him down completely and absolutely violated Alexander Hernandez. He showed him that there's levels to this game. He was still a good prospect, he just wasn't ready for the elite yet, and he's had a couple fights since that loss, but today he had a really solid performance. I would like to see him move down to 145. I mean, at 155 he just looks really stocky, and if he went down to 145 he'd probably still have that knockout power and he'd be able to fight like smaller guys. I used to think that Greg Hardy, he was just a bum with some heavy hands. He transitioned from the NFL to MMA. He first fought in Dana White's Contender Series and then went to the UFC pretty early on. Since then, he's had a couple good fights, he's had a couple bad fights, he's made a few mistakes like that illegal knee.
That was a mistake, a general mistake. I raised my hands up, I said that, I'm sorry, and I apologise.
And the inhaler situation.
That was a mistake, a general mistake.
He blames it on the fact that he's new to the sport, but really it's his own fault. Now, he's taken in a new mentor, the former light heavyweight champ Rashad Evans, and his performance tonight was miles better than before. I was genuinely impressed by Greg Hardy's performance. 30 seconds into the fight and he drops him with a heavy right hand. After that, the ground control by Greg Hardy was just amazing. He kept him on the floor and he was landing elbows and all sorts. Eventually though, Maurice did get up and he let the round end by just keeping him on the outside. He didn't really land nothing too special, but yeah. Second round, Greg Hardy hit him with a beautiful left hand and dropped him. He was just relentless after that. He wasn't giving up on the finish. Even after Maurice recovered a bit, he still kept on blazing him until Herb Dean had seen enough and he had to step in. After the fight ended, Maurice was contesting it, saying that he was moving and the fight wasn't over.
I'm getting up.
But if you look back at the tape, he was taking way too much damage and it was a good shout by Herb. Now, there's a storyline here between Bryce Mitchell and his camo shorts, but I'm not going to get into that because it is some trash ass storyline. All I know is that camo pants mean a lot to him. He's been asking Reebok for some camo shorts for a while now and he finally got them. But listen, that's not important. It's irrelevant and I don't care about it. What I do care is that he's one of the only guys to get a twister submission in the UFC, which if you look at what a twister is, it's absolutely crazy. So we got an up-and-coming strong prospect and he's starting to get a bit of hype and he's going up against a well-experienced veteran in MMA. He's just such a well-rounded MMA fighter, Filli, and he shows his experience every time he fights. Unfortunately, he didn't really have too many answers for Bryce Mitchell's style of fighting. Before we get onto the fight, let's just look at my man Keith Peterson's trim, bro. That fade is looking too crisp, too clean. He takes no nonsense even when it comes to his cut.
Like your cut, G.
Now let's get into the fight. And the first round is pretty easy to summarize. All it was just Bryce Mitchell going for the takedown, getting the takedown, and then Filli getting back up. And whenever Bryce Mitchell did get the takedown, he didn't really do too much with it. Like, he just progressed in a few positions, but that's it. Bryce Mitchell had a really good start to the second round, landing two big left hands. But then after that, Filli got in his flow. He started to look really good. He started to become the aggressor and had Bryce Mitchell in his back foot. He was landing knees. Every time Bryce Mitchell was going for a takedown, he would stuff it and he was landing all the significant strikes. Eventually though, Bryce Mitchell did get him down, but once he got him down, he literally did nothing to him except lie down on top of him. Like, he wasn't doing anything. And when Filli got back up, he ended the round strongly in his favour. This was definitely Filli's round, and also, if I'm going to be honest, I don't rate Bryce Mitchell's fighting style. At least me personally, I don't find it entertaining. I mean, he's not really looking to do anything once he gets you to the ground. Maybe look for a submission. You got other fighters out there that once they take you down, they punish you. But Bryce Mitchell really doesn't do anything. He just has ground control time. Round 3 was just the exact same story. He got him to the floor and he didn't do jack. And look, I'm not trying to bring down Bryce Mitchell's fighting style. He definitely has some really nice takedowns. It's just that once he gets them to the floor, he doesn't really do anything. Filli must have gotten really frustrated, and he must have realised at one point that if I'm going to stay here for the rest of the round, I might as well get some damage in. So he hit him with the elbow and it cut him up really badly. If you look at both of the fighters and you never watched the fight, you'd probably think that Bryce Mitchell lost the fight. But of course, Bryce came out with the win, and he knew himself that he wasn't too impressed with his performance, and he realised that there was some stuff that he really did have to work on. And this isn't no political channel, but Bryce Mitchell must have got hit in the head way too many times, because after, in the post-fight press conference, he started going on a rant about not wearing masks and stuff like that.
Over there, and we don't want to live like that, and I'm just asking to get our freedoms back, and I don't think that's much to ask for. What I'm saying is, make the mask optional in Arkansas. For people who own restaurants and people who own businesses, make it optional. Why tell somebody they have to wear a mask? What if they don't want to, or what if it affects their breathing negatively and gives them headaches?
Now it's time to talk about Uriah Hall versus the man, the myth, the legend, Anderson, the Spider Silva himself. I mean, just look at my intro. Both of those commentary scenes are from Anderson Silva's fights. He's one of the greatest to ever do it, and he was way ahead of his time during his prime. But unfortunately, time caught up to him and he's not the man that he used to be. First 2 minutes of the round, Silva was feeling out Uriah Hall. He does this for every single fight. He calculates his opponent's speed and their timing and everything. And then after that, he started to get into his groove. He started to become the aggressor. He was landing spinning back kicks and blitzing forward. Essentially, Uriah Hall was just reacting to Anderson Silva. Honestly, I don't know what was going on in round 2. It was an absolute snooze fest. Like, nothing was happening at all. A large portion of round 3 was the exact same until Silva found his momentum again. He had the octagon control. He had Uriah Hall backed up against the fence. He even did those signature Kamaru Usman foot stomps. But then, with 10 seconds left of the round, the pace of the fight started to increase and Uriah Hall dropped him with a right hook. And then he was just unleashing heavy shots. I mean, just look at Herb Dean. He must have been so stressed in that situation. He didn't know whether to let the round end because of how long there was left, or to stop the fight because he was taking so much punishment. I think he made the right decision because, you know, it's Silva's last fight. You gotta let him get through with it. So yeah, Herb Dean really is the best in the business. I don't believe Anderson Silva was fully recovered in round 4 because he was extremely sloppy. He came running in and left himself wide open. So Uriah Hall just easily countered that and dropped him. After that, he just kept on punishing him until Herb Dean had to step in. Anderson Silva is just not the same man that he used to be. Ever since those 2 losses against Chris Weidman, he hasn't been the same. I mean, his fighting style relied on his power, his speed, his reflexes, but he's just not as fast as he used to be. And you know, this is a young man's sport, and he's coming in this at 45 years old, which is really amazing, but his chin and his reflexes just can't keep up. I'll tell you something that's real poetic here, and I feel like I'm the only person that picked up on this, but Anderson Silva's first UFC fight was in Las Vegas, as well as his last, which was in the Apex. Not only that, but also he made the same mistake as the first opponent that he beat, Chris Lieben, which was when Chris Lieben was running in with his arms wide open, his chin wide open and getting countered. And that's practically the same thing that happened tonight. So you already know I'm on a Shakespeare thing out here, because his final defeat was the exact same as his first victory. And in between those 2 fights, he had one hell of a career. This guy went 6 years undefeated with so many knockouts, submissions and highlight reels. And unfortunately, he got caught in his own web when he fought Chris Weidman. But even after that, he never ever fought a bum. He never looked for an easy fight, always went for a challenge. He fought people like Michael Bisping, DC, Israel Adesanya, Nick Diaz. You know, this guy always wanted to test himself, and he always carried himself as a champion as well. He always respected all his opponents, and although he's got double-digit losses currently, he's still one of the greatest to ever step into the octagon. Right, so yeah, that's basically it. We lost an absolute legend. Comment down below where you think Anderson Silva goes in the GOAT list, and listen, if you're still watching, subscribe, brother. Know what you're doing, and also don't forget to follow me on Twitter. My link will be in the description. I'll post some mad stuff there. Yeah.